Yo, what's up guys? Welcome to another episode of Trail Chat. Today, we're just gonna be talking about 10 ways that you can add challenge to your trail. Not again! Tip number 1 is remoteness. The further out you get from other people and medical support, just generally the more challenging things become. Technically, a single black trail is exactly the same whether it is in a public setting or in distant mountains, but the consequences are just much higher if you mess up. So that's a great way to add challenge. Quick note guys, most of the footage in this video is not us riding our own trails, but rather in Kingdom Enduro earlier this year in March. The race organizer and trail builder Renee knows a thing or two about building some really technical trails. And in fact, I'm rather happy to still be alive to this day, but I just think his trails are a great example for what we're talking about today, because they're definitely challenging. Tip number 2 is exposure. If you can put your trail on the edge of some serious exposure, it is bound to add some challenge for any riders. A lot of times it's actually a really easy trail with some high consequences. So it's just messing with your mind basically, just because of what could happen if you do mess up and fall. I do think as the trail builders we have some responsibilities to make sure the riders enter with proper speed into situations like this, and that there aren't any unnecessary rocks that are going to clip their pedals and unexpectedly throw them over the hill. All right, let's move on to tip 3, because Trail Chat is not supposed to be long videos. So tip number 3 is messing with the trail width and making it awkward. I will add that less is more in this case, but narrowing things down a bit, adding in a couple of rocks and stuff that make it awkward for the rider, or just tightening up the corridor of the trail, requiring the rider to duck and push through objects. It can be a lot of fun. Don't take this to the point where it feels more like a hiking path. Make sure it's still wide enough to ride on a bike. Tip number 4 is speed. Using speed to your advantage is a great way to add challenge to your trails. Now, this applies both to fast and slow speed trails. The faster you go, depending on what the tread looks like, it can become a lot more challenging. So if it's a really high speed trail with some sharp rocks and just technical chunk thrown in there, that's pretty challenging and physical. But on the other end of the spectrum, you can make it so steep, so chunky, so narrow and so awkward that it's just really slow and technical. You gotta bust out track stands and bunny hops, and you just gotta make your way through the trail. It's physical, it's challenging, and if done right, it can be a lot of fun. I do want to add that the things I'm mentioning in this video is very obvious, and I do know that, but I can't help the fact that my arm is in a sling and I'm trying to figure out video content, and I'm hoping this can act as a list. You gotta be the one that decides with which moderation you include these features, because yes, there is a limit to this. You can't just make things infinitely narrower, infinitely slower, and you gotta be the one that sprinkles these things throughout your trail in a manner that still makes it fun while making it more challenging for the rider. Tip number 5, sprinkle in some off-cambers, guys. They are a lot of fun, they're loose, and they require real skill from the rider in order to ride fast and well. If done right, it's a really fun feature. I have a whole tutorial on building off-cambers. You can check it out up there by the card. Number 6, this is probably the most obvious one when it comes to making your trails more challenging, and that is steepness. Okay, there is a limit to this. Don't sacrifice the sustainability of a trail just to make a trail steeper, but in general, the steeper your trail gets, the more challenging it gets, because the rider needs to be on top of their game. Steeper trails are more fun, they're more challenging. Yo! Tip number 7 is optional lines. That's a chicken line. Fast chickens. Adding in optional features is a great way to make a trail more challenging while still keeping the rating of the trail lower, and it allows riders with less technical ability to still ride and enjoy your trail. Tip number 8. Yeah, tip number 8, physicality. And what I mean by this is adding in technical, punchy, sharp climbs into your trail is a great way to make riders feel like jello before the next downhill. It often requires them to bust out track stands, hop over it, and just power through the chunk. And it is a full body workout, and it is a great way to exhaust them. And when you're exhausted, a single black can oftentimes feel like a double black. Tip number 9 is to stop babying your trail, leave in the rocks, leave in the roots, and make it chunky. Ah! Woo! Hot diggity dog! The chunkier the trail is, the more challenging and physical it is. There is a rhyme and a reason to this. You don't just want to have the whole trail be chunky. You want to have smooth parts where the rider can speed up, push in, and pump, so that when the chunky parts come, they can float over it. Otherwise, it's just going to be a constant chatter. There is no tip 10. Sorry guys. Subscribe for more trail building videos, and check out our best trail building video to date over here. And I will see you all next week. Sorry for the not being a real tip 10. I didn't just want to squeeze something out for the sake of it.